What's up, guys? So, today I'm going to be talking about the Belmonts in Smash and my predictions for them. So, Sakurai tends to make characters in Smash feel like they are in their games. Mega Man is a great example of this. And I've been playing a lot of classic Castlevania games, specifically 1, 3, 4, X, and Rondo, just to get a feel for these characters. And I have a lot of thoughts after playing these games. So, one thing worth mentioning is these games are very difficult. And that's generally because the movement for the Belmonts is just bad. So in most of the games, your characters are very slow on the ground. They don't have any grounded burst mobility options. Their crouch doesn't even make them crouch that low. When they jump, they're committed to that jump arc. Their jumps are pretty short. They go a decent amount of distance with their jumps, and they have decent speed. They reach apex to jump fast, and they fall pretty fast. So I'm thinking they got movement very similar to Ryu, and that it's kind of clunky and just overall committal and pretty bad. Also, worth mentioning is that in games, they get sent flying when they get hit. It's kind of weird because they look like they should be like upper midweight characters in my opinion, but because how far flying they get sent, even the lightest hit in games, I wouldn't be surprised if they're lightweights. Also worth mentioning, in game their attacks are powerful. So this character, like once this character has some items up and is hitting enemies with the whip at the right spacing, like it is crazy. It'll just stun like enemies. You kill them very quickly. The Holy Water does a lot of damage, and it's a great move for covering landings because it goes low, it goes pretty far, and it lingers. It actually has a bigger hitbox than it looks like. And as I mentioned, like it stun locks, and it's just a lot of damage. The cross goes a bit farther than the whip, lingering, and it does decent damage. Once again, stun locks, allowing you more whip hits and a lot of damage. The axe is okay. It's just an anti-air tool, covers like a nice hitbox arc. It does the same damage as the whip, so I don't expect it to be too powerful in Smash Ultimate. And the point I'm getting at is that you're going to have to use all these items because one thing that's worth mentioning is that the whip attacks are very slow in game. They've good amount of startup and they've good amount of end lag. But the items though, these come out fast. They have very low end lag. And yeah, so you're going to be using a lot of items to supplement the whip, if not being like the main tool for the Belmonts. Also worth mentioning, in games, unless you have a specific power up, you can only have one item out at a time. And you can only hold on to one item at a time in general. So, my guess is in Ultimate, you're only going to have one item out at a time. Once again. So, you're going to be really like forced to think about which items to use and when so you don't screw yourself over. So, that's going to be pretty cool. I think this character is going to be very fun. I think the characters are going to be like at their best just when they're in their like spacing. So, in games, if enemies are too far, it's hard to deal with them because characters once get slow, so it's hard to get like close to projectiles. And when the character is up close, like if you miss an attack, you're gonna get hit. Or a lot of times you don't have time to throw an attack out, and you'll get hit. So you always have to keep enemies at the right spacing, and a lot of the game is just putting enemies in the right spot. In games, the except for Super Castlevania, there's huge blind spots in the whip. Super Castlevania has angling the whips to get rid of those blind spots, but you still need the items to cover those blind spots. Um, oh, the whole holding the whip thing in Super Castlevania was actually super busted for defense. I won't be surprised if it's the same way in Ultimate because it didn't do much damage. In fact, it was very low damage, but it broke projectiles. It had a lot of range still. And like you could just basically cover the entirety of Simon's body with that against really low range attacks. So it'd probably be good for like edge guarding, frame trapping, and just generally being a good defensive tool. So that's gonna be pretty fun. It is worth mentioning, based on the trailer, it looks like there's going to be some sort of tipper mechanic with the whip, which makes sense. There's like a flail at the end of the whip. So that's going to be pretty cool. I won't be surprised if the recovery is kind of not that great because, once again, they fall pretty fast, if I had to guess. And the upgrade doesn't seem to go that far. Obviously, the tether goes pretty far, and that might be like what they rely on. In fact, it probably will be, and that's pretty cool. And tether recoveries are pretty busted. I don't know what to think about the dive on the ground. It looks really good. Like it's a burst mobility option on a character that probably doesn't have anything else with like multiple parts to it. So that's nice. I know there's one other thing I wanted to mention. Oh, and the grabs. So I mentioned before that like they are pretty powerful, and I think their grabs also be really good because of just the fact that like in general these characters are meant to hit hard. So I won't be surprised if these characters have one of or even both of combo throws and kill throws. They may not have the best range. I can't imagine they do. But yeah. And overall, I think these are going to be characters that you can play them probably offensively or defensively. I don't think it's going to matter. I think what's going to matter is just the spacing. They're going to be very stage control and spacing dependent. So you're going to have to be at the right spots to react to certain things, to keep your opponents from pressing buttons, and to just frustrate them. And you can either run away from them and keep frustrating them, keeping them out, or you can put a lot of pressure on them with the items. And that's going to be really fun. When I saw their moveset, I got more excited for them than any other newcomer because that's like my type of moveset. So yeah, hoping they're good. This is just initial impressions based on how I think the game mechanics could translate to them in Smash. And if you guys have anything to add on to this, feel free to let me know. And peace out. Thanks for watching.